Today I'm drinking ginger kick tea, which should be lovely. Yeah, that's got a kick. I think I've got a really nice episode for you all today. Especially at this current time when I'm going through some things in my life that could definitely be unpleasant or not very nice. And as always, languages and language learning is making it all just so much more pleasant than it could be without. So my goal of today's video is first of all just to sort of share the way that I personally embrace language learning as just such a pleasant companion through life and all the different ups and downs and different phases. I'll share some personal stories, and I would love to, if possible, impart the sort of awareness of how wonderful languages are in enriching your life, and especially when you're going through difficult times, so that just maybe some of you can embrace that aspect of language learning just a little bit more. Now, right before we dive in, I'll just say that if you like these videos, please do subscribe, like, and comment. And if you have any interest in language learning, and especially maintaining languages, and you might want to check out my book. It's 5 stars on Amazon, ebook on my website, hard copy on Amazon. You just go to kumabrand.com/shop to check it out. So I won't go into all the details, but I'll just say I'm going through kind of a difficult period. I would say the next 1 to 3 months are going to be sort of filled with some, uncertainty. It's a bit stressful. I'd say it's quite a cold and lonely time. After about a year or so, I decided to leave my job that I was working, and so for the next few months, I'll probably be in a bit of a job search frenzy. And with that comes sort of, it's almost like back to the old days when I was self-employed, doing just language teaching and full-time language learning stuff. Every day was sort of living in coffee shops and looking for Wi-Fi and wandering around the city or wherever I was living at the time. And it can be a little bit difficult. And so I'm finding that my Mandarin studies are just such a wonderful companion right now, that are bringing me so much warmth and sort of just happiness in my daily life. And there's this interesting awareness of that magnifies the positive effect. I remember back when I lived in Lisbon, Portugal. That was in 2015, and I was working as a French customer service agent for Expedia France. So my whole job was in French, and every day I basically just spent my time being shouted at by angry French travelers who were having problems with their vacations. And so it was not a very nice time for me, and I hadn't even planned to go and live in Lisbon. It was all sort of an accident that happened after I just couldn't find a job in France where I had originally wanted to go. And so I was struggling, and I was really trying to go and get a job in Germany, and I was interviewing, and it was just a very difficult time for me, and I didn't really have any friends in Lisbon, and I was very lonely. I remember that learning German, just like as I looked back on it afterwards, I learned German very, very quickly, at least to a degree where I could actually go to Germany and do things in German and function on a basic level. It was about 6 weeks. That was the fastest I ever did it. It was mental, but when I looked back on that, I remember that just like, thinking about listening to those podcasts every day, walking along the streets, my daily sort of commute, my daily evening walk, going through Babbel lessons on my phone in coffee shops and writing things down and watching videos and trying to transcribe them, and I couldn't, and I remember I had to send them off to a friend of mine who agreed to help me transcribe one video, and I looked back and I was like, wow, that was such a pleasant time, and learning German was just almost like a friend, honestly, that's sort of a companion through that difficult time that really, really helped me. And I remember looking back and just thinking how nice that was. And the same thing has happened over and over again. I think when I look back over the years learning all the languages, like if I think back to learning Swedish, that was actually a fairly pleasant time in my life. I was back in university doing a French degree actually. That was also right when I started my first company, and so things were actually pretty exciting. But learning Swedish was just like such a delightful element of my life back then that really enriched it. And I remember going through my Babbel course and like getting the vocabulary, and day by day slowly starting to be able to express myself in the most basic ways. And I remember finding a TV show called Solsidan, which I really liked, and I found the Swedish subtitles and I thought I'd hit the lottery. I remember trying to read my first Swedish novel, in Man som heter Ove, and then I remember finally buying Men som hatar kvinnor, the girl with a dragon tattoo in the original Swedish, and just all these things, and it was just such a pleasant thing. And so I think that it's not that it wasn't great back then, it was great in the moment, but it's just to say that over the years doing this sort of over and over, and I would say going through a pretty, you know, up and down life. If you've watched this channel for any amount of time, you'll be pretty familiar with the insanity that has been the last 5 years of my life. It's that I've developed this sort of awareness of just how pleasant it is, and I'm finding that that actually magnifies the positive effect that language learning has on my personal life. And so right now, it's like, it's just so delightful because I'm walking around, and in the morning I've been taking a couple of buses to get to different coffee shops in different areas of the city, just trying to learn from my past and trying to think, how can I make this more pleasant in other ways? And I'm listening to these Chinese podcasts. They're really basic. It's the sort of beginner stuff, just learning things like, you know, 你好, 最近怎么样? Or like, 还好, 你怎么样? You know, like stuff like that. But like the hosts are so pleasant and the content is so nice, and I'm learning all these really sort of like useful phrases, and it's actually really helping me. But aside from the practical benefit, I'm just finding, God, it's such a pleasant thing that's like present in my life right now. And you know, I made like a little Anki deck out of like a bunch of phrases I learned from these podcasts. I've gone through like 45 episodes in the last 5 or 6 days, just because it's such great use of my dead time, which I talk about a lot in my book, just saying. And so this morning when I got to the coffee shop, I spent some time, you know, actually writing out everything. I love writing Chinese characters, and it's so much fun now that I'm becoming more familiar. I'm finding the pronunciation is making a lot more sense to me. I'm really starting to have a bit of a breakthrough. In the next video, I'm going to start talking more about like, when do I actually start speaking in a new language? And I think that time is coming with Mandarin. And so all these things, they're just making such a big difference in this sort of potentially hard time, and I think it's one of the things that helps me stay positive. Another thing is you guys, making videos, reading the comments, interacting. It's always been one of the best things I have in my life, and frankly it's what kept me going through all the years, struggling through different things, and definitely getting your feedback is what probably the most fulfilling part of my career actually has been the interactions and the feedback I've gotten through all of my work on YouTube. So never think that that goes unnoticed, or that it's not a big part of my life. And so I just thought it'd be really nice to sort of share that with you, in case that, even just a little bit, in case that I can impart that awareness, and that maybe some of you who maybe don't have that just yet, or even people who have experience learning languages, maybe even just a fresh perspective. I just wanted to try to share what's going on in my life, just in case it could help all of you just enjoy learning languages just a little bit more. And honestly, I would love to hear your experiences. Truly, I would love it if people would comment on this video and let me know what your experience has been like with language learning. Has language learning, you know, enriched your life in some way? Has it sort of guided you through difficult times in your life, or has it augmented the positive times in your life? Has it led to things that wouldn't have been there without it? I just honestly really love to read through any sort of input that you all have to this discussion, because I think that the more we can help each other just truly enjoy learning languages, the more successful we'll be, and frankly the more we'll all have fun, and that's really what it's all about. So thanks for watching, getting back to my ginger kick tea, and I'll see you in the next video.